This is the Redallover show with me, Josh Overton, Alex Francis, Dean, and Craig. No Andy tonight. He is at the ballet. Just wrap it in there and drop it in nice and early. Andy is at the ballet, although he's celebrating his 45th wedding anniversary. So congratulations, Andy and Sue. So tonight we'll be speaking about what we need to do to get out of this rut we're currently in after a poor second half against Rotherham and a very dismal result. And then look forward to the weekend as we entertain York City in the first round of the FA Cup. So let's get stuck into it. So, Craig, it's been a bit of a sticky patch, and it feels like it has been now for a while. There's been shoots of positivity within that. So the first half against Rotherham wasn't too bad. Obviously, Wickham more or less fine up until the 88th minute, ground out a result against Bradford. But we have started to slip down the table now. I think we're sat 11th. We're currently closer to relegation zone than we are the top six, because it does seem like the top six has already sort of separated themselves. I think there's a gap from either sixth or seventh of 3 or 4 points. So there are gaps starting to open up in the league, which means there's work to do. What can we do, or what do we need to do to sort of turn the tide that we have seen? Because Connor's tried a few things recently, and I must admit, none of which have actually benefited us. To be fair.
Um, I'm not entirely sure. He's been tinkering a lot in the past few games. I think there's a few things that are not working out quite as he would like, and he's still trying them. To be honest, like I don't get Kalen Vickers playing where he's been playing and playing Phillips out wide. Um, I think we missed Phillips in the last game as well. Um, I'm not too sure because I don't think we're playing bad. We're creating chances, we're just not taking them. I
Mm.
think McGoldrick missed about two or three in a match about 4 or 5 matches ago. If anything, I think we're doing a lot. We've got a lot of possession. I think we've got second most in the league so far this season, but we're not doing much with it. I think the first few games, I think we did really well in getting it up fast and into the box as fast as we can. But I think at the minute we seem to be doing what we did under. I think it was it underdone. I think it was we were doing a lot of passing around the area rather than just getting the ball in there. You know, Also the amount of times we get the ball up there, and there's nobody in the box because everybody's trying to drop deep to help us get up there. Um, I think we're missing a plan B, which is a big target man. I know Andy keeps talking about a big Russian striker that can bully people. I think McGoldrick is good in the air. I don't see why we just can't throw him up front more often. I know he's doing well on the wing. He's doing well when he drops deep. But if Dunn's not getting any results and he's not getting involved enough, then drop him behind the striker and you put McGoldrick up there because we know he's an handful. We know that he's maybe more seasoned and can give the central defenders physically more of a problem. Not obviously not running in behind, but he's stronger and I think he's better in the air. And I think when it gets to like the 60th, 70th minute, rather than wait until the last 5 minutes, you know, start a bit earlier trying to get that goal, because at the minute it just seems like we're running out of ideas in that final third. If we can't pass it through them, then we're not going to score. To me, it just seems that obvious. We really struggle with teams that just sit back. It's like I say, it's age old thing. Anybody can win a game if they're going to attack you. But games like when with Rotherham, where they're not going to attack you, they're just going to sit deep and then break on you. We really struggle with that. I think as defence have made a few errors this season that's cost us goals, which has cost us games. Um, but I know we've had Roberts out. I really like Roberts and Shepherd at centre back. I think that they're definitely the pair going forward. They seem to be a lot happier with each other. Shepherd seems to be a lot happier on that left hand side than he does on the right. He does well on the right, but I don't think that's where he is at his best. I think of Better's game last game was the worst he's had with us. He seemed to be just trying to do too much all game, and constantly losing the ball. Um, Tenai Watson for me, I think he's been one of the best players in the team. Um, I want to see Vickers back out wide. Like I say, he does do things in the central of midfield, but I think he's just more influential out wide. I think being able to run at his man, I think is missing being able to do that as much. I think Connell's gone on the radar as being probably behind Dunn as being his best player this season. I think the way he dictates the tempo in games, the way he spreads passes, I think it goes underappreciated a lot because he does his stuff a lot deeper. But I think a lot of people saw it, especially against Rotherham. His spraying passes left and right is constantly on the move. Is yeah, like I say, is our captain, and I'm really happy. I think everybody was starting to say he is what we had underdone when he played really well, and then he had his drop off under Clark, and I think we're just getting back to his best. Um, like I said, there's a lot of young players in the squad that he's trying to fit in. Blandy, he's I think he's falling off a little bit for me, but not like I say. I'm not gonna say take him out of the team or anything daft like that. Um, Kelly is a bit up and down. He plays really well one week, and then what next week you don't really see him. I think Yoga Nathan's looks a bit shook after he got that red card. He's not quite been the same player since he's in his well, spares the little matches he has played. I don't think he's been the same as he was before. I think we've got actually a loss in confidence. If I'm quite honest, we seem to be doing a lot, but it's just when you're not seeing results. I think that's what the issue is. Um, for me, this upcoming game against York, I would put out the strongest starting 11 we've got and really go out to get a scalp. I'm not going to say York are going to be an easy team to score against, but we should just go and try and score as many goals as possible and get that confidence as high as possible for our next game. Because at the minute, I don't think it's the time to be fetching in under 21 players when we need our star players to get some confidence back.
Just on just on one thing there you mentioned, do you think McGold, because what we've sort of seen, and I'm glad you sort of said DKD's been one of our better players still this season, because I know Dean, you've said he's not hit the heights that he did last season, which I do agree with to an extent, but 6 goals in 12 games in the league, I think he puts him one behind the top scorer in the league. Um, do you think it works though with McGoldrick and Dunn both being on the pitch? Because from what I see of both, and both want to come deep and both want to like come and be involved a little bit earlier rather than play on the shoulder and want to spin in behind as such. And then on that, obviously, we've got Ray's Cleary who's in sort of red hot form and come out of nowhere, which sort of stops Keeler Dunbar to play on the left because you kind of want Ray's Cleary to go and isolate and run at his man constantly. And then we've got sort of Vickers and Phillips on the right hand side, which then it leaves you either McGoldrick or Keeler Dunn to kind of play. Do you think it works? It's almost like a little bit of an embarrassment of riches in a way of you trying to shove all 5 of them on, but in a England and Southgate-esque way, probably not the best combination. Is just shove all of them on at once and almost make sure the system still works with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we alluded to it a few weeks ago when we said that they had a bit of an embarrassment of riches in the attacking midfield and forward areas, although we lack a centre forward, we all agree. And it does seem to me that he's trying to fit everybody into it somehow, and he still hasn't quite worked out what the best way forward is. And partly that's due to because some of the players are not playing at a consistently high level to be able to make those decisions that he's made actually work as well as they could. So, for example, when I was talking, and I know we've laughed about it since, about how we could destroy Blackpool down the right flank, and Phillips and Vickers just didn't show up on the day. They weren't playing at any sort of decent level, and therefore we missed that trick. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, the natural thing is, I agree with Craig. The natural thing to do would be to put McGoldrick right up front, because he's the only person who can actually win a header, possibly apart from Phillips. But Phillips is not a central striker. And if we have to, and we do have to occasionally revert to hitting it long, then we've got some kind of chance of retaining possession if you've got somebody up there who can either hold it or head it. So that would make, to me, sense. And then I think Conor's probably got to simply be quite ruthless in who he plays and who he doesn't play. I mean, Dunn, I think, has played okay this season, but he certainly hasn't looked like the £5 million player that everybody was touting around in the summer by any stretch. But his goal ratio is good. But so often he's not actually in the box, as you rightly point out, Josh. He's too deep. And Cleary, I'll get it right, not Gareth Rees, caught the ball in quite a lot against Rotherham, and there just wasn't anybody there to finish it. And some of those chances could have fallen to Keeler Dunn, and his record is so good, he would have put him away. So I think that's one thing. One thing that, without harking back into too much detail with the Rotherham game, one thing that has concerned me is that their coach made 3 very significant changes at half time. One, putting a fullback right tight on Cleary. 2, putting Dan Gore, 44, right on Luke Connell, and bringing Nombi on up front. And the effect of that was that McCleary wasn't as effective. Luke O'Connell couldn't then dictate play from the position he was in, because he always had a man around him. So he had no time to, look up, see what was on, because somebody was all over him like a rash. And the 2 strikers that they had on pressed so much on the back 2 rather, Shepherd and Roberts, who did a really good job, I think, throughout the game. But their options on the ball were so limited then, because they were being pressed. So the only out ball they had was to the fullback, which enabled Rotherham to maintain the shape. Now, what I'm saying with all of that sort of tactical stuff is that Conor didn't react to it. So maybe he should have used, I don't know, Connell as more of a decoy, drop Bland in, and then that would have confused Gore as to who am I marking now. He should, in my opinion, and could have done, switched Cleary over to the other side, over to the other wing. He's right-footed. It wouldn't have been a big problem. But again, it would have kind of confused Rotherham more if we'd have responded and reacted to that. So, I mean, that's a concern, that the whole of our coaching team expected us to continue in exactly the same way, the plan A, as Craig was talking about, the plan A, and that we'd roll them over and score eventually. But I think on this particular occasion, Hampshire actually outthought Hurricane, and Hurricane didn't respond. And I'm not massively critical of him, because he's relatively inexperienced, and he's learning on the job as the same as anybody else. But I do think if I was recommending that, you can't just change personnel. Sometimes you have to change the way you play. And we didn't do that against Rotherham. And I think we could have outflanked them in the end. But anyway, so yeah, that's a bit of a concern to me. On the positive side, I do think that Shepherd and Roberts will shore up our back line if Roberts could remain fit. I mean, the poor lad was absolutely out on his feet at the end of the Rotherham game, and I'm pretty sure if Earl had been fit, he would have come off. But anyway, that's another matter. But I think, yeah, we need to be more ruthless in terms of who we're going to select, stick with it, and also have some kind of idea as to how we can play differently. Because I don't think we've played differently at any stage. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, especially doesn't against a low block.
Yeah, it is a bit of a conundrum, Alex, isn't it? Really, of there's obviously you've got Plan A, and especially when you're at home, you expect Plan A to work, and almost never seem to adapt to their style to combat you, which, as Dean pointed out, that Rotherham did, and then had success with it. But then it's a case of how do you then react to that? Because I mean, realistically, we've mentioned, I think, between all of us there that goals aren't really the problem, an issue that we've got. One clean sheet in 27 games under Conor probably shows you where that issue actually lies. Of fundamentally, yeah, we're creating chances. I mean, McGoldrick scores that header in first 2 minutes against Rotherham, different game completely because they can't sit in anymore. They've got to come out and attack. It does feel like the moments are going against us, but realistically, one win since our last win, excluding the Virtue Trophy, 13th September against Reading, in a 3-2 win. Barring that, 1-0 lost to Blackpool, 6-0 at Brighton, 2-0 to Port Vale, lost in Virtue Trophy to Notts County, 2-2 at Wickham, 2-2 at Bradford. It's not for a sake of not scoring, barring the Port Vale game and Blackpool, which at Blackpool we could have scored 3 or 4 by half time. To be fair, it's defensively that is a worry and a concern, and has been for 26 of the last 27 games. Because to win, you've got to score a minimum of two.
It seems like 26 out of the last 27 years, doesn't it? It's been going on that long. Um, I mean, Connor speaks about fine margins. We speak about fine margins, but how much longer can it go on? You've got to turn the tide at some point and improve. We've had injuries in the back line, granted. Georgie Gent's been out for a good few months now. We've had Romo out as well. We've also had inconsistency, sorry, from the likes of Josh Earl. But I mean, what can he do? If you spend 100 grand at Fleetwood, you're not going to get someone who's the finished article in a way. You can't expect to buy these players and expect them to properly challenge at the top end of the division. But I mean, you've got MDG coming into the fray again, who looks to be in Connor's thoughts. Thought he's been playing well the past few games. You've got Gent coming back. You've got Watson, who's a steady 7 out of 10 every game. I bet he seems to have been playing well. I know the lads there have mentioned that he seems to have dipped a bit recently, but you've got Robbo back. You've got Shepherd, who seems to have been the most consistent one out of the two centre backs. So I'm hoping that soon the tide will start turning and we will start showing up that defence. But it is an issue. 1 or 2 games, fair enough, but it's dragged on for quite some time. Maybe a hangover. It does need sorting out, and I feel like once we sort that out, we can start picking up results. In terms of the forward line, it is an issue as well. But the opposite issue, we've got too many numbers instead of not enough. In my opinion, I think Cleary and Vickers have nailed down those spots, the two wings. You can't drop either of them, I don't think. And I do think, I know you mentioned it's, a toss-up between Didsey and DKD. I do think they are very similar players, so it is tough, and I don't think neither of them will want to sit on the bench. But like Dee mentioned earlier, you've got to be ruthless and you've got to make the right choices. But I certainly wouldn't want to be Conor at the minute making these choices.
I'm going to make you Connor now. Who would you pick out of the two of them?
I think I'd stick with DKD, to be quite honest. And I know McGoldrick could be very downhearted about that. But I mentioned on our radio show earlier, Josh, we think DKD is in poor form, but he's one of the top scorers in the league. And he's getting his a goal every 2 games. So you look at that and you think it's banging form. And you look at the stats and you think he's one of the best players in the league. So it's tough. And obviously we all saw the stat of he's had no touches in the opposition box in the past 2 home games, which It's surprising, but obviously he does a lot of his work outside of that box. Um, I just think he's the one to go with, and I think, I like his attitude. I like what he's about, and I feel like eventually, I say he'll be back in form, but he's in form already. But I think he'll be back to the heights that we all saw from him last season. And I think McGoldrick is a good option to bring off the bench. He's a good option to have in the changing room in general. And I think, he's good mates with Conor. So if Conor has a sit down with him and just explains the situation, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to give DKD the nod. But it is a tough one.
Yeah, it is. Craig, in terms of sort of defence issue and defensive rows, as Alex mentioned there, when you sort of think of the combination amount of players that have played across that back line, and barring, let me just scroll back up here to find when we did keep clean sheet against Peterborough, which is the only clean sheet we've kept under Conor, who at the time were, I think, rooted to the bottom of the league, or at least in a relegation zone as a minimum, and are still there now, and have turned over a ridiculous amount of players in this summer. It, do you think it is actually, it's not even to the point now of it's just players, it is a systematic issue within his system that is actually the problem and is the reason why?
I think you could say that the high line could be an issue. I think that's one of the biggest issues. We play with high line, but if you're going to play with high line, if you're going to play pressing football, you need a high line. And that's what he's been mainly brought in by the owners to do, which is play pressing football. That's what they want to see. That's what the fans want to see. That's what the fans like. But obviously, you need to take everything as a negative side. So if you want to play pressing football and you want to throw players forward, you're gonna have to deal with um, a high line and having, like I said, Roberts, one of people that I love to watch the most. You know, he's gonna be done by that every game because we know he's not the paciest. It's better for him now to have Shepherd behind him because Shepherd's, to say he's a big tall guy, he's quite fast. Better as well. He's pretty pacey, and also Dejuvenier or Watson, whoever you put there. So I think, like I said, the issue at the minute is system wise is, I think, like I say, he's tinkering a lot. He's trying different things. But the one thing I think I would like to see more than anything else is not actually at the back, it's up top. Because I think if we can get a goal ahead, I think we could probably ride out most games if we're not focusing on being attacking. But we try to attack from the off to start well in the game and obviously be dominant in the game. But we're not getting them early goals like we were at the start of the season. But going on to what I'd like to see DKD play behind McGoldrick, allow him to be the link-up guy, because I think with the physicality of McGoldrick being able to hold the ball up, how many times a game would he be able to tee DKD up for a shot at his area? We already know DKD's lethal, so I'd be trying to facilitate that as much as possible. And I think putting him up front isn't getting that the best from him. I also think that when it comes to having Cleary and I forgot his name already.
Vickers?
Yeah, on wings, right? When they can cut in from byline, I think McGoldrick is the best guy to be in on the keeper, timing them runs, because he's done it his whole career. Um, so, and obviously, and if you cut it back to the edge of the area, you're gonna have DKD there. So for me, that's now we've got Phillips that's out. It looks like because he's playing the last game. I don't know how long he's out for. But I'd try DKD in that free role behind the striker, because I'd like to see what the link up between him and McGoldrick could be. Because them two could quite easily interchange mid match without even their defenders even realizing what's happened. 1 minute they're dealing with McGoldrick being physical and strong. Next minute they've got somebody running in behind them. It'd keep him on the toes. It'd allow a bit of flexibility in that front because he'd be able to go out wide and help, just like Phillips does on the right hand side. But I think DKD would be effective on both sides. Um, so I don't know. That's just me spitballing. I'm not a manager, so I don't know. But I think I'd like to see that. Um, I don't actually know if that actually worked where Phillips had fit in though. If that did, you can't leave him out. Do you put him next to Connell? Would that work? Or would he want to get forward too much? That's the next thing. Like I say, there's a lot of headaches because there's a lot of good players in this team, but you need to find a system that works for us top players. Like I say, we know Keeler Dunn likes to score goals, and we know McGoldrick is a pain in the bum for every defender out there, especially at this level. Um, but like I say, it's just on Conor to get it. But I do think that Cleary is giving us a much better option on that left hand side than anybody that's played there this season. McGoldrick, Dunn, anybody is so direct. And this is obviously I had my reservations about him to begin with, but he seems to have been coming into his own now. And I think he's definitely one of the first names on the team sheet at the minute because he's the guy that brings the excitement. He's running at them defenders all game. And like you said, Dean, in the last game, they had to mark him. They had to double him. They had to put two on him, you know. And that's possibly where you get up better to push up a bit more, support him, run beyond him. You know, it's all about creating number supremacy when you're trying to break a team down. You've got to throw people forward, and unfortunately for us in the last game, it ended up them being able to score against us. It was a good goal, but I was right behind it, and the goalkeeper couldn't see it. There were too many defenders in the way, so I think that were unfortunate. I think any other day at week we end up winning 1 or 2-0 because they didn't come to score a goal. They come to try and get lucky, and they come to just try and hold us off as long as they could. And
But I
I think
think
the stats do so that I think we come out of the game with a 1.95 xg, and they had like about 0.5, I think it was. So I think the stats say it all. But it's just unfortunate at the minute. I do think it's a lot down to luck. But like I say, it's down to Conor now to try and figure it out.
I think that highlights the point about ruthlessness. That if you want to play two wingers, which he seems to want to do, and you want a centre forward who's in the box regularly, there's only room for one player. It's either Phillips or DKD. So that's where the ruthlessness comes in. It says, right, okay, that's what I'm going to have to do because it seems he's like trying to fit all the players in, as we've said before. So that will, sort of make sense. And I agree. If he wants to play two wingers, that's what he's got to do. But he seems to have settled on some kind of idea that Vickers can go in field and Phillips can play on the right hand side, which I don't think any of us thinks works because we lose his abilities.
I do think I would like to see that idea, Craig, of DKD sort of in the 10. I think it'd be perfect picking up the ball between the lines. My one reservation with it is when Vickers and Phillips link up, it's not Vickers who crosses the ball. It's Phillips that does it, and then that's my reservation. Just because Phillips is so good at cutting it back into an area exactly where McGoldrick or DKD want it, that's my one thing of would not necessarily would it work as such. It's just because Phillips is almost like so accurate with those deliveries, and he's just so nice at playing a nice little 10-yard sliding balls into the box, which you want. It's almost like is it worth losing that? Because I now like that's how I see Connor's conundrum of when they do get them overloads on that right hand side, it always releases Phillips. It very rarely releases Vickers, or if it does release Vickers, it's because he's found a yard inside three players somehow, and he's got out
Personally,
like Peterborough.
I would play Phillips out wide, DKD in the 10, McGoldrick up top, Cleary in the wing. Because I think, like you say, he puts in accurate balls. I think that's what McGoldrick needs. It's just he's got to find the space to do that. So I think having DKD being able to be that be that guy behind the striker who can go left and right. He can go and help
Mm.
Phillips. He can help him get the room. Also, Watson can push a bit higher. Get him to help him out. You know, I just want to see the ball getting into the box more often because at the minute we're watching a full 90-minute game and we're getting the ball into the box once every 30 minutes. It seems like when I'm watching games, it's taking too long, it's too ponderous, and by the time we're in there, they've got 8 men in that box and we've got nobody. It's an absolute nightmare sometimes watching it. It's so frustrating. And obviously, Conor must be frustrated too. But I just think we need to be a little bit less pass and a little bit more direct sometimes. We need to just think we need to get this ball out wide and get it in the box. Because the thing is, how many miss kicks do you see in area and then it
Uh,
just drops to a striker's foot?
Especially in League One as well.
Whack it from outside the area. How many times do you see a deflection and it go past keeper? How many times do you see a goalkeeper spill it to somebody like McGoldrick who's going to be on his toes? It's I'm sick of teams watching. I watch football all through Premier League, all through Champions League, Championship, and they all want to score these perfect goals every single game, and it's frustrating. Hit one from 30 yard if you know you've got a power. If you've got like Phillips, like Conor, if you're from 30 yard out, and you've got a bit of room, or you can create a little bit of space, hit it. You never know what's going to happen. But managers are now telling the players, no, work the ball into the box. What you've got to do is you've got to pass it like your prime Man City or whatever. But these are League One players. You're not going to get Bernardo Silva, Sergio Aguero at the centre. You're not going to, it's ridiculous. Really, to me, it's ridiculous. It's like taking a Fiesta onto a F1 track. It's it sounds like a good idea, but it's not going to do anything. You know, so for me, just get the ball in the box. Quality balls from out wide, hit shots from range if you need to, especially if you're 1-0 down. We were 1-0 down and we were doing nothing.
Should have put
Absolutely nothing for
Reyes
large
Cleary
periods.
centre mid and have a look from 50 yard again.
You know what?
That's our plan
But
B.
that just shows where we've gone to now. We were just like, no, just have a shot from halfway, it'll be fine.
That's our plan B. Reyes Cleary from wherever he's got ball. Don't matter.
It's
Hit it. That'll do.
Put him in net, let him take goal kicks straight, take him like a penalty.
Alex, do you think Conor can turn it around? Because obviously we've said 27 games now he's had in charge, so it's more than half a season basically in total. You can write off majority of the back end of last season because it was very much his opportunity to assess the side. But you look at sort of the games that we've picked up, so a win at Burton, EFL first round at Cup, draw with Bolton down to 10 men, scrambled his way past Peterborough, although McGoldrick could have scored an hat-trick in that. Relatively, so 1-0 is probably not really a fair reflection. Then losing to Wimbledon, beating Rotherham, beat Huddersfield, went down to 10 men early doors, beat Reading, and then we've gone on to this run. So realistically, I think when you look at it objectively, it's probably not been a fantastic season so far, because when you sort of look at the turmoil that Blackpool were in when we played them, I think they were nearly 23rd by the time we came and played them and struggling. Port Vale as well, another gritty team that struggled against constantly all game. Wickham looked fairly in control, but then lost it. Bradford could have easily lost that game, to be fair, but came away with a point. So, what's that? 3 wins, and one of them's got the jeopardy of the red card for Huddersfield, so you can't really say if that would have been a fair result as such. It not necessarily saying is it Conor out or such, but have you seen enough sort of from him to know to think that he's the right person to take us forward?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because we all love Conor, from his time as a player. And I think most of the fans were looking at the appointment thinking, we'll give him time. And this is the one where we sit back and think, we're not going to go for a Neil Collins or Darrell Clark and just expect them to get promoted. And then if they don't achieve that, we're going to sack them. It felt like, Conor were coming in and they were, I know you don't like the word project, Josh, but it felt like, there were a project in place and they were maybe not settling for not finishing that top 6, but just settling for, whatever we'll be. Just as long as we've got a team that goes out every week, performs to the best of their abilities, we'll see where we end up. But it's not been good enough. There's no hiding away from that. The clean sheet stat, it's quite mind-boggling, really, because I don't think I've ever seen it with us in this league. But there's not much we can really say. I'm sure at some point the tide will turn, but it's just a matter of when. But in terms of Conor, I've seen a few fans saying that it's time for a change. I'm not sure if those are, reactionary comments. But I guess if it's been happening over a long period of time, no matter who you are going to get judged, and no manager's immune to pressure. So I'm not sure. But personally, I want to stick with Conor. I don't see how getting rid of him and getting someone else in would benefit us. I don't see where we go. I don't see who we get in. Um, and I just think you need consistency in this league. And I feel like, given the time, given the resources, it will get us out of this league. And I really hope it's this season because I don't want another season in League One next season. But you never know. I mean, you look at Rotherham, who were they've rooted to the bottom of the league, and now they're only 1 point below us. It's been tough for us as fans, and of course for the players. But just play to the best of his abilities. Hopefully, when the players are back from injury, we've got Jallo coming back from injury as well, which will give us another option. Hopefully, we can start to get more consistency and climb that table. But you look at, is it? I'm not sure how many points we are outside the playoffs now, but you look at it. Lincoln keep winning, the teams in and around the playoffs keep winning, and we're sort of stagnating. I know we've got 2 games in hand, but it's tough. And the longer it goes on, the more unlikely it looks that we'll be challenging up there. But I'm still confident. I think you've got to be.
2 games and against third and fourth in league.
Great point. Great points. Draw that down as 0 points then. Just get rid of the games in hand.
Which, to be fair, we do tend to do better against the better sides anyway, so I suppose. Craig, looking forward then to the weekend against York, first round of the FA Cup. And I do agree with you. I've played that first 11 because it's not like a annoying Virtue Trophy game that's Tuesday just after a Saturday and sort of disrupts the week before. It's almost, you don't really want that first 11 having 2 weeks off, because I think at this point we're playing more or less every 2 weeks in terms of that first 11 rather than actually every week, with the games being postponed and the way it's moving about a bit. So, I mean, I do agree with you of that first 11 of try to go and take the jugular against York.
Oh, definitely. I think that's a look. There's no better feeling than scoring two or three unanswered goals. And like I say, young team confidence is key. And I agree with Alex. Anybody that's looking at sacking Conor, I think they're just the mental, because we're not playing bad football. We're playing good football. Like I say, we're just not getting the results right now. And sometimes you just don't get the rub of the green. But I believe that he's got maybe not the managerial experience, but but he's got the playing experience, the to be able to, and also with the people that is next to be able to be good enough to turn this around. Like I say, it's not like the performances have been bad. Like I say, we could against Bradford, we could have quite easily won that if we didn't throw it away. Match against Rotherham, we could have quite easily won that. But like I say, it's all about the rub of the green. And last thing we need is these players to let their head drop, And I think Conor will know that, and he'll try and keep these lads' confidence as high as possible, because the likes of Connell, we can't call them young players anymore. The likes of Phillips, you can't call them young players. They're not. They're experienced League One players, and these are also the locker room leaders. You don't just look at the Roberts. You don't just look at Urahan. You're looking at, there's plenty of experience. Josh Hale experience. And these are the players that need to be on the training field saying, look, we're just not getting the rub of the green. But the best way to make sure we get the rub of the green in the next game is to you work as hard as possible this week, and you leave all the managerial stuff to the manager, and you just focus on listening to what he tells you and doing what you've been told, And I think having a good old scalp against York would be a fantastic way of doing that, And the results are all that matter in this game. So, but like I say, I just think about we were a year ago. We weren't playing well. We weren't getting results. At least we've got one of them things at the minute. You got from Barnsley, we've got to grasp onto whatever we can. We don't moan like them Southerners. So we get on, we pull his bootstraps up, and we get on, we crack on. So that's what I expect to see from my team. I don't want to see no heads dropping. I don't want to see nobody having a tantrum because they've been pulled off. I want to see them running the blood to water, and I want to see them putting some real effort in. And like I said, they're doing that currently. You know, as soon as that changes, you'll hear me being the first one to start naming names, because I'm not afraid of calling people out if I don't think they're trying hard enough.
I think you just reminded me then when you said that of where we were this time last season after this many games, and uh, we had 22 points at this point last season, so 4 points more, sat eighth.
And that was worst finish in how many years? We're ever in League One? Something daft like that.
I think it were a long, long time ago.
Mm. It was.
I'd not even thought of checking that then.
It was 20 years ago.
That is interesting. So yeah, slightly behind last season, but I do think there's more hope around the season this year than, because I do agree, Craig, I don't think the performances were good, and we did chuck away. I mean, at that point, we'd already chucked away about 6 points with Selena, who decided to chuck ball at net about 3 or 4 times, but then decided to turn up against Huddersfield and still lost, which was nice of him. Dean, are you the same in terms of going out with full strong 11 in this game?
Absolutely, 100%. I think for different reasons, well, for all sorts of reasons, really. One, the team needs it, and Conor needs to pick his strongest teams and give that team some confidence with a decent result against York. I mean, I also think that York won't be easy. It won't be it's not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they were through to the playoff semi-finals last year in the National League. They're right up this year. They've only lost 2 games in the National League all season. And looking at their squad, it's absolutely packed with very experienced National League footballers who would give under 21 players a very difficult time, I think. So I think we're going to have to play a strong side if we want to win this. And I think, obviously, the club is perpetually in need of the added funds that a cup run would bring. And I don't think Conor will be particularly popular with the board if he started playing his second string and playing, players to get minutes, as we all like to say these days. So yeah, I would go with whatever he thinks is his strongest team, and hopefully we can come through it. But I do think it'll be a hard game on Saturday. And having played York twice recently over the last couple of years, I think we've drawn and lost, haven't we? So,
I remember the one where Adam Amell scored.
Pre-season friendly, and they looked a pretty good setup at York when I was there for the pre-season game. They gave us a very good run for our money. We actually scored 2 really good goals. So yeah, and they've got somebody who finds the net all the time. They've got a striker in Pearce, Ollie Pearce, who scores scored bucketfuls last season, and he's already got 10 this season. So yeah, we need a strong side.
Sign it up.
There we go.
Another Dallas.
Adding to the list with Stephen Payne.
Stephen Payne.
Mike Fenix. Sean Tooten.
Yeah, Sean Tooten from Halifax, isn't it?
Yeah. Just keep adding to the list.
Oh, there was a guy from Weston-super-Mare as well who was coming up, and he stayed for a while. I can't remember his name, to be honest, but
It'll come to us just as about to finish show as it always does. Uh, Alex, looking at his record against York, 6 games, we've won 4, drawn 2. So we've actually never lost to York.
I thought we lost in the Funny Cup, the Pizza Cup.
Adam Hamill turned it round. We were losing 1-0, and then Adam
No,
Hamill.
it's when oh no, it's Ollie Banks scored for Chesterfield, didn't they? Not York. Sorry, my mistake.
He scored for Barrow.
Barrow, that's the one.
Oh, Barrow spanked us that season.
Yeah, that was it.
That was
Barrow
a
turned
game
up.
to watch.
Lost track. Lost
Was
track.
it 4-1 that?
They were
5-4.
5-4, yeah, 5-4.
Depressing.
Absolutely mental. I know that.
Championship side at the time as well, conceding 4 to.
Still my favourite video ever. When Ollie Banks lined up for that, and someone went, "Does he think he's Ronaldo?" And then he stuck it right in sort of corner.
Yeah.
Big fan of whoever said that, by the way. If you're in the comments, let me know, because that was class. Alex, York obviously said that 1-4 against them, drawn 2. So going on the basis of the fact that last time Rotherham beat us, we weren't through on the radio earlier, we were still World Cup holders, and Eric Winstanley were a major doubt for our upcoming game. Means York are going to win, surely.
Yeah, man, we're yet to land on the moon. The internet, we're 15 years away from being invented. List goes on. Yeah, I was going to mention that the record with Rotherham, you can't look into these things, can you? Completely different sides every time we play each other. I was looking earlier on Twitter, and I saw a few York fans speaking about this game. I'm not sure if any of you have seen these tweets, but one fan was saying something like, "We're not here just to take part, we're here to take over." And then another one was saying, "Come on, this could be one for the ages. This could be a real upset. We've not had a game like this in 10, 20 years. So this is the one, Get your family to buy tickets, get your mates, get everyone you know to buy tickets. It's going to be, I think they're bringing more than Rotherham. I'm not sure how many they've actually sold, but
We're bringing more than us.
3,000. We'll have, what is it, a stand and a half open, something like that. So you'll think they'll be up for it. Obviously, for us, it's not something we particularly prioritise. So they'll be up for it, and they'll take the game to us, and we'll have to be on our game. And I really agree with these two that you've got to play the strongest 11. You can't risk it. But there's also the risk of playing the first team and losing, and the confidence being even worse than it is now. But it's tough. You've got to play the first 11 and hope that it brings some confidence and some goals, which I'm sure if you perform to his best, then it will do.
Mike.
I'll learn how to do this one day and myself. I will learn.
How long have you been doing this, Josh?
First time.
Still learning.
First time. Yeah, you'd like to hope that it is one of those to build a bit of confidence, because, as you said, Alex, it can go one or two ways depending on the result. I would like to correct what I have just said. We've not played York 6 times. We've played York 20 times. Not 6 at all. So that last website we're on was just wrong. But we have only lost twice to them. And the first time was our first ever meeting in 1932, December the 3rd. I'm sure everyone remembers that one. And the last time we lost to them was 1967. So last time we lost, we were current World Cup holders.
Yeah. I think Andy went to that first one.
I think he was, yeah.
He'd have been 18, wouldn't he?
Something like
that. 18th birthday.
It was something it was on about he had his first pint on the same day, I think.
Moaning about ref as well, I heard.
That makes a change. That does make a change. We are undefeated in the FA Cup against them, though. We played them twice in the FA Cup, beat them 5-2 in 1953, and we beat them 2-1 in 2003, so a little bit more recent.
We're going to win then. Nailed on.
So there we go. Yeah. Undefeated in the FA Cup against them.
Famous last words then, Alex.
We've said it many a time.
Yeah. Whenever we say that, it never goes well for us.
I'm waiting for that clown. I'm praying for that day I get a clown mask on the face.
I think I might have gone to that game in 2003, because I'm just looking at that lineup and I do recognise a lot of them players.
Was it?
In 2003.
Is it still wearing your nappy?
Let's not guess them all, Dean. I know he's already on about it.
No, go on,
I was 13 back then.
Andy sides. How about Handysides? Did he play?
Yep, playing at the back
There you go.
alongside Craig Ireland. Anthony
Oh, yeah.
Kay were in there. Jacob Burns, Kevin Betsy up top with Isaiah Rankin.
Neil Austin.
Neil Austin came on as a sub for Handyside after 20 minutes.
Straight off my head, most of them. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, you're even too old for me. Too young, sorry for me, Alex. You're too young for me.
Uh,
I remember Anthony Kay. When I forget when it was a while age ago. We played Wednesday, and I was a mascot for the game. And
Oh,
I ran out with Stephen McPhail. And I remember shaking Anthony Kay's hand and went, "You all right?" I went, "Yeah, are you?" And that's it. That's what I remember Anthony Kay.
Best mates.
Yeah, best mates. Same with Stephen McPhail. Although I will say one thing, I have no idea how old I was. I had the same haircut as I do now, actually. But when the players set off to jog onto the pitch, I just remember being at full sprint thinking, Jesus, these are quick,
That's
aren't
an
they?
haircut. I thought that would have bet that had gone wrong or
It's a
something.
lovely
Sort
haircut.
of forfeit.
Look,
Halloween costume.
I'm just saying, everyone's got a Conor Urian homage going on here. Alex has got his. Alex
You
has
were
got his
giving me
framed
Max
picture.
Branning vibes, to be fair.
Alex has got his picture. Dean's got his background. I've got Connor's haircut.
yeah.
So you've got to go
Craig,
for
step
Conor
up.
next time, Craig. You've got to bring your gesture in.
I've got enough memes against me, mate. I don't need to get any more. I was on Twitter last week, I think. Somebody put something up. Something about a Bradford style of play or something.
That's
I
Twitter
don't know.
being Twitter for you.
That's why I don't go on it.
Predictions.
Oh, blimey.
Craig, what are you in for?
I'm going to be optimistic. You know, I think, like I said, we're at home. They're going to fetch fans. I don't think they're going to be as easy as people think. And I can't bet on us keeping a clean sheet. I'm going to 2-1.
2-1. So that make it 27 out of 28 games we've conceded.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Dean?
I think we'll put a good side out and we'll win 3-1.
Again, another one with no clean
No
sheet.
confidence in the defence.
No disrespect to the National League, but the fact aside 2 leagues below us and we're going, we'll probably concede still though.
We'd probably concede against a school team,
Yeah, we'll
to be
probably
quite honest.
Oh, Michael Coulson scored against us last time we played him.
Ooh.
Back from thingy. Scored a free kick, if I remember rightly. And then one of my best favourite players of all time, Ben Pearson, equalised for us.
Ben.
Alex?
I went for 2-0 on our radio show earlier, so I'll go for that. I'll back us to keep a clean sheet, but would not surprise me if Ollie Banks come up with an absolute worldie at some
That's
point.
true.
But I'll back us to keep a clean sheet. We've got to keep one at some point, and hopefully it'll kickstart that happening in the league as well.
I had forgot that Ollie Banks were playing, so that's at least one.
Just come back from injury as well, so it's all set up.
No, perfect.
It's all set up. He's 33. You know, it's probably one of his last meetings against us. He'll finish it in style.
I'll be honest, if it's not, that's a big problem because that means we've probably been relegated. It's not his
Great
last
point.
meeting. They've come up.
Great point.
I'm hoping it's last time we see him. If he's playing for York. If he makes it into League One, that's fine. I'm going to go even more positive than news. I'm going to go 3-0.
Ooh.
I'll take that.
Yeah, you've convinced me, Craig. You convinced me.
Although I convinced myself, that's why I said 2-1.
Although if I see that team sheet and
oh yeah, if I see a load of youngsters in there, I'll be texting Andy. I'll be like, "No, revise 3-1 loss."
There'll be a lot of comments from us. Right, we will be back on Saturday with our instant reaction to the show, I think. So it'll be on Saturday, it'll be Sunday morning. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, get your predictions down in the comments below. Let us know what you would do in terms of would you start your strongest 11, and we'll see you on Saturday when hopefully we're in the hat for the second round of the FA Cup. See you there, you Reds.